Welcome back to the channel, everyone, and you join me for the F1 2018 Italian Grand Prix, and hopefully what's going to be a very successful round here for us at the Force India team, because we've got ourselves an engine upgrade, we've got ourselves a drag upgrade, we've got ourselves a weight reduction upgrade. Combine that with the drag and weight reduction, the tyre wear upgrade that we got for the Belgian Grand Prix, we are looking pretty strong and have a nice little package underneath us here that will assist us in our what appears to be never-ending fight with Renault for 4th place in the Constructors' Championship. But that is the sole focus of the Grand Prix and the rest of the season, realistically. Like I say, it's a fight for Renault for 4th place and a fight with Nico Hülkenberg for 7th place in the Drivers' Championship. But both of us are encroaching upon the 100-point mark. But, yeah, good, hopefully good circuit, very fast circuit. You know, the Temple of Speed is the Monaco Grand Prix. And obviously we saw Kimi Räikkönen breaking records in real life with the fastest ever speed recorded in Formula 1.
Right, we've lost telemetry, we've lost pretty much all sensor information. It's being looked into now, so just bear with it for a few minutes if you can, please.
Unfortunately, we were not setting any blistering speed straight out the gates in qualifying because we had a sensor fault on our car, so annoyingly that had to be fixed, but nonetheless it only took a little while. Anyway, we're going in for our second run in qualifying with just under 5 minutes left. Our first run set as P14, which isn't exactly ideal. Monaco burns ERS, burns it quite heavily because you use a lot of overtake mode for top end speed, and overtake mode definitely burns the ERS very quickly, but aggressively into the first chicane, then on the power, into hot lap mode, and that brings us up through Curva Grande as we then head down towards the second chicane. We've already braked from 220 mile an hour down to 50. We're going to brake from 210 down towards a lower speed once again. Just careful on the curbs. That, with the new curb physics, that second chicane is absolutely killer on your line on the car. Through Lesmo 1, never really getting it on the apex, and then that sacrificed me all the way through. Then in Lesmo 2, running it as wide as we could without putting it on the gravel. I thought that was pretty damn impressive. We've lowered it here to high for the middle sector of the circuit because we don't want to burn too much ERS. We don't want to have any D-rating at the end of our laps. We're only 4 tenths down on provisional pole position as we come through Ascari. Then Vettel goes on a 20.0. That's nowhere close to Raikkonen's 119.1 from the real-life Grand Prix. But we are nearly 6 tenths of a second up on our personal best as we go overtake mode into Parabolica on the brakes around about 70 metres. Power out of the corner, down to high, up to hot lap. We're going to hit D rating just now as we charge towards the line, but it's over half-second improvement. Puts us P9. Very surprisingly, that is slower than the Renault of Nico Hülkenberg. But the Ferraris head the pack. Vettel and Raikkonen, Ferrari front row lockout. Hamilton in third, then Verstappen and Ricciardo 4th and 5th, ahead of Bottas. Perez up in 7th, which is where I expected him. Only 6 thousandths ahead of Hülkenberg there in 8th place. Then myself 9th with Grosjean rounding up the P10. Stroll in 11th, looking very strong there. Magnussen is 12th, Sorokin in 13th, and Sainz, Nico Hülkenberg's rig gunner, down there in 14th place, albeit only 3 tenths of a second off his teammate. So it goes to show the midfield, as with the real life Formula 1, is very close. Perez only less than 2 tenths of a second behind Valtteri Bottas. So I don't know what happened with Bottas' lap. It's very slow in comparison to everyone else, really. But we've set ourselves well for the race. We always race better than we qualify. So it's about what positions we can make up in the Grand Prix. That is, of course, the $1 million question heading into the race. It's going to be the fastest race on the calendar, clocking in at just shy of 45 minutes. We see there Van Dorn and Ericsson at the back of the grid. Let's get in to the 2018 Italian Grand Prix.
It's race day here in Italy once again. Monza, home to so many records. The smallest winning margin, for example. Do you remember in 1971, Peter Gethin beat Ronnie Peterson to the line by 1/100th of a second. There were 40 overtakes for the lead alone in 1965, and Kimi Räikkönen clocked a record top speed of 230 miles per hour here, just over a decade ago. So there's a lot to live up to then for all of our drivers today. With the rain coming down here at the 3.6-mile Monza circuit, the low drag setups preferred by most teams could cause them some problems in today's Grand Prix. So watch out for cars struggling for grip around Parabolica, the last and most demanding of this track's 11 corners. Anthony Davidson joins me again for the race today. Let's talk about Renault. What do you make of their performance so far this season?
Well, the atmosphere within that team seems very positive at the moment. Everyone seems like they're in great spirits and having a lot of fun doing what they do, and that's definitely contributed to the performances we've seen.
You can run side by side into the Rettifilio, but don't brake too late on these cold tyres or you will hit someone.
Yeah, turn 1 at Monza, always a dangerous one, and it's going to be wet for the most part here for this Grand Prix, so going to be drying up later, but the early part of the race is going to be very chaotic and very, very dangerous, so we're going to need to watch our front wing, make sure we don't take any damage as we build to the 5 red lights. In Italy, lights are out and away we go. Hulkenberg gets a brilliant launcher there. I've had initially not too bad, but then it's been a shocker. Grosjean powers past us, then does Magnussen. Stroll's on my outside, but down to 12th already. We're going to take it very easy down the inside. Perez getting swamped by the pack. Magnussen with the dive bomb of absolute dreams up into 6th. We sort of followed him, but both Haas cars looked very good initially. We get very tail happy out of the first chicane, but Grosjean wasn't able to get it on acceleration. Magnussen, the biggest gainer off the start there. We are up into P7. That appears to be our favourite place to be somewhere through lap 1. But rich and hot lap mode, we're going to be conserving our fuel through this section of the Grand Prix. Very light rain as the cars bunch up through the second chicane. Verstappen and Ricciardo there, P4 and P5. Where the hell is Valtteri Bottas in all of this? He's lost out massively. At the end of lap 1 though, we are in the slipstream of Kevin Magnussen, and he's looking very vulnerable. Are we going to look to make a move into Parabolica? You bet we are. Braking very late. The Haas driver taking it very easy. You got to bear in mind though, the wings that we're running, I was running 4 on the front, 3 on the rear here in Monza, and that meant in the light rain conditions the cars were very slippery. But by the end of lap 2, we're getting our foot down. We're of course losing time to the top 3 cars because that is Formula A, but we're gaining time over the rest of Formula B, which are the back 3 cars. So by the middle of lap 3, I've built a bit of a gap there to Magnussen, and you see the message we're getting from Jeff. Apparently the track's going to be dry sooner than we expected. I would have guessed looking at the lap indicator during the initial part there.
Okay, the weather's certainly eased off for the time being, but we've still got a lot of standing water out there. We're happy for you to stay out on the inters for now.
So we're getting a lot of messages about the weather. I thought it was going to dry up around lap 20 looking at the timing marker. Hamilton setting the pace, then Raikkonen in the 31s now. Bottas is now back up behind me. He's clearly recovered after his poor start. We're in the 33s, so we're not looking too hot right now. Valtteri Bottas is going to come steaming past us. He's running, well, he's actually very close to us. I thought he was going to be further alongside than that as we go into turn 1 nice and gently. We're going to defend from Bottas here because I want to show Mercedes, you know, as their reserve driver, driving for Force India at the moment, you know, I beat both your cars in Belgium. Now, granted, Hamilton had a car fault, but Bottas, we got past him, you know. Sure, he had probably a little bit of front wing damage, but you can see the gap we've built out to the Haas of Magnussen and the Renault just behind him there. So we're just taking it nice and easy at the moment on these tyres. We're going to need to keep them in check because the weather...
I don't think the line is really dry enough yet to start thinking about slicks. Let's hold on to the inters for a while longer.
As you can see there, I mentioned about the weather. Jeff coming on the radio to advise us there. It's lap 5 and they're already talking because the rain's getting lighter. It's not really streaming off the car too much. Little bits here and there, but yeah, it's not raining too bad as we dip into the 32s now. We're 32.6 that time around. Here comes Bottas once again to try and overtake us. We're going to drop it into lean. I'm going to consider saving fuel at this stage of the Grand Prix. It's probably going to be drier for more of this Grand Prix than we expect. So just battling Bottas, keeping things measured. It looks as if the Renault and Perez are either battling or have got past that Haas of Magnussen, or Magnussen's had some kind of issue. No, he's in there battling there based upon the minimap. I'm just trying to keep an eye on Valtteri Bottas at the moment as we again go green in the first sector, but Bottas once again just not able to get past me. But I've had an awful exit through the second chicane. Is that going to allow Bottas to make a move round the outside of Lesmo 1? He's certainly going to try, but we squeeze him out. No grip out there. on these wet conditions, and that's successfully defended once again. But Bottas now got a good run out of Parabolica at the end of the lap, and this time around, is he going to try and make the move? No, standard mix and high, too much for the Mercedes. Maybe he's turned down the engine, maybe he needs to save this one, whereas we're giving it not absolutely everything, so I want to save fuel for later in the race, but I've butchered it through the Retafilio, and that could mean that Bottas is going to get me on traction through Curva Grande. Let's see, the arrow goes red, Bottas is down the inside, it's his best run he's had, and that, yeah, I made a mistake on traction. Bottas is going to get through. Are we going to dive it down the inside of the second chicane? You're damn right we are. We wait for the door to open up, but we've overcooked it over the curbs. Just avoid bouncing over the sleeping policeman, and then that's Bottas past us due to a mistake. I have to hold my hands up there and say, yep, definitely gotten a bit too hot. Definitely overcooked it, and you can see they're just sliding over the sleeping policeman. Didn't want to damage the front wing on any more of them, so just carefully put it back on track, and that allowed Bottas to get through. So yeah, the car, very greasy, very slippery in these conditions. It was treacherous as we now come across the line at the end of lap 9. We're 32.2. So times are tumbling. You can see the rain has stopped. No rain streaming off the car. We're going to have a look. Everything all looks to be in order, but the Red Bulls and Lewis Hamilton appear to be very slow. So it's just now ticking down to see what we want to do. Team radio. So there's the confirmation on what we're going to be doing. Apparently Inters are the best tyre, but the car just felt shocking and just cumbersome and slow through the corners. Lots of opposite lock. And obviously, clearly cars are struggling because the Mercedes ahead as well as the Red Bulls. Just look at through Lesmo 1, just so much understeer. And I've made the executive decision at the end of lap 11. We haven't had the cut-off point notification of DRS being enabled. But I'm going for it. I've got a big gap to Perez behind. I'm not gaining on the cars in front. We're going all in. Just all the chips are down. Switching to the soft tyre. We're going to have to carry that tyre for a while. But there's very little to no spray on the car. So there we go. 2.3 by the Force India boys. Another excellent pit stop. We are the very first car on the circuit onto these dry tyres. Sainz is going to go past us. So is Kevin Magnussen. And we're going to feed out between both Haas cars by the looks of things. Grosjean is charging down towards turn 1, but he's not quite going to be able to make a move. Now we just need to be cautious into turn 1, measure what the grip is like. It's not brilliant, if I'm honest. Now we just need to concentrate on getting heat into the tyre, so I can't tippy-toe round and hope these tyres eventually come to me, because the slower I go, the colder the tyres get, which means I have less grip, which means the slower I go. We need to essentially attack out of the box, and obviously the tyres cool down initially. The surface temperature is okay. It's that carcass temperature that we really need to try and get up to generate the grip. So I've basically got to attack as hard as I am allowed to with the level of grip that I've got, because right now it's not brilliant. And looking at my fuel there, remember that glitch from Canada? It's back, but DRS has now been enabled. It's the cut-off period, and I've just been shown that I've been hit by the fuel glitch, so I'm now over 2.5 laps minus, so I've got to bump it down to lean, and I'm going to have to use my ERS to counteract that. Grosjean is closing on me through the middle sector. This tyre has not switched on as of yet, and it's going to be very hard to switch on in these conditions, but cars are in the pits. There's a Mercedes in the pits there. I think that's my teammate. Yes, teammate is in the pits. Perez also diving in for the dry tyre. And Grosjean, is he going to make a move into Parabolica? No, but I've got zero front end grip in this car. The tyre's still not up to temperature because the tag's a little bit damp, a little bit greasy, and the air condition's still quite cool, but we're going to pass Magnussen, pass Hulkenberg, and pass Perez, who are all on the medium tyre. So they think the soft won't go to the end, which then I'm thinking, can I manage this tyre to the end as I go deep into turn 1? So that's going to be interesting, and we've seen from the past few races that the Force India performs very well on the medium tyre, but we're up to the end of lap 13. My fuel's coming back to me, and the tyres are slowly now starting to heat up. The right front is still a little bit light blue, but all the other cars getting into that green window. Sainz in, back up to P7. We've closed a little bit to Verstappen, you could argue, in that phase, but you know, they're now carrying the soft compound tyre. Same tyre as myself there. Perez up into P8 has jumped both Renaults during that exchange. So now it's, you know, best of the rest team as Hamilton setting the pace on a 29.5 as the track is essentially coming towards the dry tyre. I've got nearly a lap of fuel back in the past 3 laps, so it's definitely going to come back to me. Once it has come back to me, I can start pushing. We're in the 1 minute 30s. So Perez then sets the fastest lap of a 29.2. So Sergio Perez has definitely got some pace up behind me. We come towards the second chain. Then Gasly on a 29.0. So the pace is there. Track improving all the time. As Stroll then sets the fastest lap. First man into the 28s. I'll be very curious to see what the lap time is when Sebastian Vettel crosses the line. It's a 27.5. There you go. There's the track evolution as it's getting drier and drier. Then Raikkonen on a 27.2. So track's coming to us. It's now about soft tyre versus medium tyre and Force India versus Force India, because Sergio Perez as Verstappen now goes fastest. First man into the 26s. What's our lap time going to be? Bear in mind we're on lean mix. We're losing time on the straights. We're still in the 29s and Perez is now only 1.5 seconds behind us. Sergio Perez is going to be up behind us sooner rather than later. At this point I have to bump it up to standard. I realised there that I could have been in that for a while as Vettel now once again sets the fastest lap of the Grand Prix on a 26 flat. I could have been running standard for longer, Raikkonen into the 25s, and saved my fuel. But, you know, I've lost that time. I've got the fuel back, so it means I'll be able to go to rich sooner. So we're now down to minus 0.7 on the fuel, and this lap is seeming a hell of a lot faster. My tyres, for whatever reason, just weren't coming to me like the mediums appear to have come to Sergio Perez. So we're going to be coming across the line any minute now. The times are 1:27.3. That's great. We're still nearly 2 seconds off the pace, and Perez out of the final corner, out of Parabolica, surges past me on straight line speed with the DRS open. That's what I was doing to everyone else in Belgium last Grand Prix. Perez has just done it to me, but if he's got the pace, the Mercedes and Red Bull just ahead of me, as Vettel again into the 24s now, 24.7, aren't that quick, so maybe Perez can pull me forward. As Raikkonen going faster than his teammate, can he close the gap down and maybe fight for the lead of this Grand Prix? But all of my Grand Prix remains. Perez is up there in 7th. We, both Force Indias, need to finish ahead of both Renaults as Hamilton 24.4 as they cross the line, trading blows the top 3. What are we going to do as we cross the finish line? There goes Perez. We are into the 26s, 26 flat. So now we're starting to take big chunks off our lap time as Vettel drops into the 23s. The pace was just lightning, and we were clinging on to Perez after the tyre heated up. Now Ricciardo, a Red Bull out of nowhere with the fastest lap of the Grand Prix. You could see it was just trading all the time. They appeared to switch on there. And once I got into a rhythm, I started to close back up to Perez. 25.1 now. That's much more representative of our car. And it's Spig Vettel now back on top with the fastest lap. Just trading blows left and right. And you can see now we're within a second of Perez. We're in the 24s, less than a second off the leader's pace now. Can we get in? We're a long way back this time around, so maybe not, but we are closing up to the back of Perez. This tyre has now switched on. I'm in a rhythm, I'm in a groove, and I'm catching my teammate now for 7th place once again, half a tenth up, or half a second, but then VSC came out, and that really hampered my momentum. You know, you see there, I'm being very cautious. It was a very short VSC as well. It's going to flick over any second now to ending. There it is. Alonso's out of the Grand Prix, so that's why the VSC's been out. But the VSC really screwed my progress, and it opened the gap between myself and Perez. As we crossed the second sector, he's 1.2 seconds up on me. So it enabled me to save a bit of fuel, a bit of VRS. We're up to rich, we're up to high, using all the track and a little bit more available to me. But once the VSC came out, Perez was just in a different league. He was back again to almost like just after the pit stop where he was that much faster than me. I once again could not pass him while the Ferraris were still going faster and faster at the front of the field. I'm trying to gain back on Perez as we do a personal best of a 24.3. We were within a second as we crossed the line, but we weren't at the detection point, so it meant I didn't get DRS that time around. We're running out of laps here, and my tyres are going to be running out of life as Vettel just again, as the fuel load went down, they kept pushing and pushing the car. Someone's going to be in the 22s any minute now. I was just trying to get within a second of Perez because I was losing time through the middle sector, but I was gaining through the final as we crossed the line. 24 flat, 1.1 behind Perez. It was just a battle to try and get within DRS. I was just chasing him down like a man possessed. By the end of lap 23 though, you can see I'm just understeered. My front tyres had completely gone off and they were now wearing out because If I had known how long the stint I was going to have to do in hindsight, I could have gone to mediums, but that set the gap of 2 seconds to Perez, and that was essentially the last of it. I'm kind of done at this point as Vettel there, still to the final lap, pushing the car, crossing the line. He wins the Italian Grand Prix. My front tyres are gone. I'm still pushing, but Perez has beat me to the line, but still 7th place, and both Force Indias ahead of both Renaults.
Okay, good job, mate. Really well done. That was a fantastic drive.
And now it's time to wind down and celebrate after that fantastic Grand Prix. Here they come, your top 3, out onto the podium.
So there's the Italian Grand Prix. Sebastian Vettel wins this one ahead of Kimi Räikkönen, making it a Scuderia Ferrari 1-2 in front of the Tifosi, with Lewis Hamilton bringing it home in 3rd. Daniel Ricciardo would pit to race him to the line, only 3/10 behind him in 4th place. Valtteri Bottas in 5th. Max Verstappen nearly fell into the clutches of Perez, only 1.5 seconds back from him there. We bring it home P8 for a Force India 7-8, and then Hülkenberg and Sainz 9th and 10th for the Renault team. And they were some points we really needed to gain over Renault there. We got 7 points over them in this Grand Prix, as Magnussen just outside the top 10, with Gasly with his regular good performance there. The Williams 14th and 15th, but Raikkonen still leads the Drivers' Championship, and Vettel now overtakes Hamilton. We are now tied on points with Nico Hülkenberg, so we are racing towards that 100 figure mark. We are clearly best of the rest, as we've then got over 30 points back to Romain Grosjean there in 9th place, and then Perez is beating Carlos Sainz by 10 points, and that means that between ourselves now, gap is now down to 12 points between Renault and Force India. So yeah, this is the major fight. I mean, it's nearly 100 points between Ferrari and Mercedes. The big fight in the championship is that battle for 4th place between, like I said, the Renault and Force India. Let's get in and have a chat with Claire.
Great work out there today. How do you think it went? You're beating all expectations. Would you say we all underestimated you?
Maybe, but I think this team's really well.
Did you feel comfortable in the wet weather today?
The car initially was slidey, but I think that's just the conditions of Monza in itself. But, you know, wet Grand Prix are fun.
That was a close finish. How are things between the two of you?
Honestly, really good. The fact that Perez can turn up and push me like he did today, where I was just got into that rhythm, got into that
Appreciate your
groove,
time.
and just laser focused on him. It felt really good to drive. Unfortunately, yeah, the VSE broke my rhythm with Perez. We're now drawing the rivalry with him out of this Grand Prix, and we're still losing the rivalry to Hülkenberg by 2 points, which is a little frustrating. I can't ever appear to get a faster lap than them in the Grand Prix, but we still get really good rapport. We've nearly maxed out Haas and McLaren. Red Bull, Toro Rosso's getting there, but we're now more neutral in our alignment. We had gone to Showman earlier on, but now we're a little bit more neutral in our alignment. Gave a few sportsmen and a few showman answers during some recent interviews. But guys, that has been the Italian Grand Prix. Big one for ourselves here as a team. We got that 7-8. Both cars beat both Renaults. That's what's important, and that's going to be crucial. This is essentially the Formula B championship. Just get rid of the top lot. Get rid of the top 6, right? Imagine this. Get rid of the top 6. Myself and Nico Hülkenberg would be tied on points as championship leader. But yeah, we go into the next Grand Prix, Singapore, and from what I know, that's the one where you find out if the technical regulations are changing and what they are. So that will be interesting to see. Leave a like if you enjoyed and comment any feedback down below. Subscribe and enable notifications to never miss an update that comes to the channel. And I will see you all next time.